The wine hits her face before anyone can breathe. Red liquid drips from Naira Vale's jaw onto white marble. 200 people freeze. Crystal chandeliers cast shadows that don't move. A violin holds its note too long. Preston Harrington IV tilts the empty goblet and smiles. "Stand still," he whispers. "I want to see how dirty someone like you looks in real crystal." His mother claps. 3 sharp sounds that echo like gunshots. His father raises his phone higher, recording, grinning like he's watching a dog do tricks. Naira doesn't wipe her face. Doesn't blink. Her slate blue suit darkens where the wine soaks through. Her hands stay at her sides. The leather folio under her arm doesn't move. "Did you see that?" someone mutters near the bar. Preston's friends laugh. One of them whistles. The sound cuts through expensive perfume and champagne breath. "Hi friend, before we continue the story, kindly tell us where are you watching from. And subscribe for you to get more, and I have something new for you tomorrow. Stay tuned. Thanks. Let's continue." The string quartet keeps playing because no one told them to stop. Violins and silence and the wet sound of wine dripping onto stone. Preston leans closer. His breath smells like scotch and inheritance. "You don't belong here," he says. "Whatever assistant job brought you up here, it's over. My father will make sure you never work in this city again." Naira's eyes don't leave his face. She reaches into her folio. The laughter stops. Someone in the back of the room whispers her name like a prayer. Like a warning. The syllables land wrong in the quiet. Preston's smile flickers. His father lowers his phone an inch. Naira pulls out a single document. Cream paper. Black ink. A signature at the bottom that makes the room tilt. "This," she says, voice steady as a blade, "is the termination of the Harrington-Virex strategic partnership. Effective immediately." Preston laughs. "It sounds hollow. You can't do that." Naira slides the paper onto the table between them. "I already did." Phones start buzzing. Not one. Not two. A wave of vibrations that sounds like insects swarming. Men in suits pull devices from pockets. Women in diamonds stare at screens. The Harrington family doesn't move. Then Preston's father steps forward, face red, veins visible at his temples. "Do you have any idea who we are?" Naira looks at him the way you'd look at a child who doesn't understand math. "I know exactly who you are. And in 30 seconds, so will your shareholders." A lawyer in the back shouts something about injunctions. Someone else yells about contracts. The noise builds like water rising. Naira turns toward the exit. Preston grabs her wrist. The room goes silent again. Colder this time. Dangerous. She looks down at his hand. Then up at his face. "Let go," she says quietly. He doesn't. She pulls a phone from her pocket with her free hand. 3 taps. 1 call. "Execute Protocol 7, she says into the receiver. Preston's father goes pale. His mother's champagne glass slips from her fingers. It doesn't shatter. Just rolls across marble, spilling gold liquid in a thin line. Every screen in the room lights up at once. Stock tickers. News alerts. Emergency notifications. Harrington Industrial Group, trading halted. Shares down 23% in after hours. Partnership collapse triggers systemic risk. Preston finally lets go. Naira straightens her suit jacket. Wine stains her collar, but her voice doesn't shake. "Your entire infrastructure," she says, loud enough for the room to hear, "runs on software I own. Every logistics algorithm. Every defense protocol. Every automated system keeping your empire breathing." She pauses. "And as of 8 seconds ago, you no longer have access to any of it. Someone drops a glass. The sound breaks like bones. Preston's father lunges forward, but two security guards appear from nowhere, blocking his path. Naira walks toward the door. Her heels click against marble. No one stops her. At the threshold, she turns back. "You filmed this," she says, looking directly at Preston's mother. "Good. The world should see exactly who you are." The doors close behind her. Inside the ballroom, phones keep buzzing. Voices rise. Panic spreads like fire in dry grass. And on every screen, the same headline starts appearing. Black CEO destroys billionaire family after racist attack. The video of Preston pouring wine begins circulating. 10,000 shares in the first minute. 100,000 in the next. The Harringtons finally understand what they've done. But understanding comes too late when the empire is already falling. The Harrington family's lawyers arrive in 12 minutes. 6 of them. Suits so expensive they look like weapons. Briefcases that cost more than cars. They move through the lobby like sharks smelling blood. Upstairs, Preston's father stands at the head of the table. His name is Camden Harrington III. He built the empire his grandfather started. Turned billions into more billions. Never lost. Never apologized. Never had to. Call Judge Matthews, he snaps at the lead attorney. Call Senator Driscoll. I want emergency injunctions filed before sunrise. His wife, Vivian, scrolls through her phone. Her hands shake but her voice stays ice. It's everywhere, she says. Twitter. Instagram. TikTok. The video has 4 million views. Preston sits in the corner, no longer smiling. The goblet he used still sits on the table. Empty. Mocking. Who is she? He asks quietly. No one answers at first. Then the youngest lawyer, a woman named Cassidy, looks up from her tablet. Naira Vale. Chief Executive Officer of Virex Global Systems. She's not listed on most public databases because she keeps a low profile. But according to SEC filings, Virex owns the patents to the neural infrastructure algorithms that power 63% of your automated operations. Camden's jaw tightens. That's impossible. We bought those systems outright in 2009. Cassidy scrolls further. You licensed them. The ownership clauses were buried in subsection 14 of the original agreement. Virex retains full intellectual property rights. You have usage privileges, which she can revoke. The room tilts. Camden grabs the edge of the table. That contract was negotiated by the best legal team in the country. It was, Cassidy says. But the man who wrote the original algorithms wasn't on your team. He was on hers. Vivian looks up sharply. Who? Dr. Marcus Vale. Died 15 years ago under disputed circumstances. Naira Vale is his daughter. The silence that follows isn't empty. It's full of things no one wants to say out loud. Camden's phone rings. Private line. He answers without looking at the screen. Yes. The voice on the other end is clipped. Federal. Unfriendly. Mr. Harrington, this is Agent Lorna Briggs with the Securities and Exchange Commission. We need to speak with you regarding your company's algorithmic infrastructure and several irregularities in patent filings dating back to 2008. Camden hangs up. They're moving fast, he says. Cassidy nods. She didn't just cancel the deal. She triggered a regulatory review. If the SEC finds evidence of patent violations, this becomes a criminal matter. Vivian stands. Then we bury her. We have media connections. Political leverage. We make her look unstable. Opportunistic. We turn this into a story about a bitter executive with a personal vendetta. Camden looks at his wife. You want to fight her publicly? I want to destroy her publicly. Preston finally speaks. She didn't look scared. Everyone turns. When I grabbed her, he says, voice hollow. She didn't flinch. Didn't argue. She just made a phone call and walked out. Like she'd already won. Camden stares at his son. Then he turns to the lawyers. Draft the narrative. I want op-eds in the Journal and the Times by Monday. I want think pieces about emotional CEOs making reckless business decisions. I want her name attached to every word that makes investors nervous. The lawyers nod. Cassidy doesn't. Sir, she says carefully, if the public sees this as retaliation for a hate crime, it will backfire. Badly. She's not the victim here, Vivian snaps. We are. Cassidy closes her tablet. With respect, ma'am, the video shows your son pouring wine on her face while you applauded. The optics are catastrophic. Vivian's face hardens. Then we change the optics. Camden's phone buzzes again. He glances at the screen. His face goes gray. Our stock is down 31%. Someone in the back swears. Pre-market trading is brutal, Cassidy says. When the bell rings tomorrow, it's going to be worse. Camden walks to the window. Manhattan glows below. His city. His kingdom. We've survived worse, he says. But his voice lacks conviction. Across town, Naira Vale sits in her office. The wine has dried on her skin. She hasn't changed clothes. Hasn't washed her face. She's watching the numbers. Harrington Industrial, $82 per share. Then $78. Then $71. Her phone rings. She answers. It's done, says a voice on the other end. Calm. Female. Familiar. Thank you, Eleanor. Do you want me to release the rest? Naira looks at the city lights. Not yet. Let them think they can still win. She hangs up. On her desk sits a photograph. Faded. Creased. A man in a lab coat standing next to a younger version of herself. Both smiling. The man is Marcus Vail. He invented the algorithms that built empires. And the Harringtons stole them. Naira's phone buzzes with a news alert. Harrington family hires crisis PR firm. She smiles. They still don't understand. This isn't a crisis they can spin. It's a reckoning they can't survive. The media blitz starts at dawn. Opinion pieces flood major outlets. Headlines crafted by publicists who charge by the syllable. When emotional leadership threatens shareholder value. The dangers of personal vendettas in corporate governance. Naira Vale, brilliant CEO or reckless opportunist? Television pundits debate her decision. Half call it justified. Half call it emotional. None of them know the full story. By 9 a.m., Naira's inbox has 300 unread messages. Reporters. Investors. Lawyers offering services she doesn't need. She deletes them all. Her assistant, a sharp woman named Keisha, knocks twice before entering. The board wants an emergency meeting. Naira doesn't look up from her screen. Tell them I'm unavailable. They're threatening a vote of no confidence. Now Naira looks up. Let them vote. Keisha hesitates. Naira, they're scared. The stock dropped 19% overnight. Investors are panicking. They should be. You're not worried? Naira leans back in her chair. Keisha, do you know what happens when you cut off a parasite's food supply? It dies. Exactly. Keisha nods slowly. What do you need from me? Coffee. And tell security to expect reporters by lunch. Keisha leaves. Naira's phone buzzes. Unknown number. She answers anyway. Ms. Vale, this is Vivian Harrington. The voice is silk over steel. Naira says nothing. I'm calling to offer you an opportunity to resolve this situation privately, Vivian continues. We can negotiate terms that benefit both parties. No one else needs to get hurt. You mean no one else needs to know what you did? Vivian's tone sharpens. What we did. Your company is hemorrhaging value because of your emotional outburst. Shareholders are furious. Your board is questioning your judgment. You're destroying your own legacy to settle a personal grudge. Naira almost laughs. Mrs. Harrington, you filmed your son committing a hate crime and applauded. 4 million people watched it. Do you genuinely believe this ends with a phone call and a settlement? Silence. Then. We have resources you can't imagine. Political connections. Media influence. We will bury you so deep no one will remember your name. You're welcome to try. Naira hangs up. 3 minutes later, her phone explodes. News alerts. Social media mentions. Video clips. The Harringtons have released their counter-narrative. Sources close to the family claim Naira staged the entire incident. That she provoked Preston intentionally. That the wine was part of an elaborate setup to justify breaking the contract. Doctored screenshots appear on Twitter. Fake emails. Anonymous witnesses describing Naira as unstable, vindictive, impossible to work with. The narrative spreads fast. By noon, half the internet believes she's lying. Keisha returns with coffee and a worried expression. It's working, she says. Public opinion is shifting. People are starting to question your version. Naira sips her coffee. Good. Good. They're desperate. Desperate people make mistakes. Her phone rings again. This time it's a number she recognizes. Judge Paulson. Federal Court. Southern District of New York. MS. Vale, I'm calling to inform you that the Harrington legal team has filed an emergency injunction to freeze all actions related to the terminated contract pending a full review. On what grounds? Breach of fiduciary duty. Tortious interference. And emotional distress. Naira almost smiles. Emotional distress. The hearing is set for Friday. You'll need representation. I'll be there. She hangs up. Keisha's hands shake as she sets down a folder. Naira, they're not playing games. If that injunction holds, Virex loses millions in locked assets. We won't be able to operate. They won't win. How do you know? Naira opens the folder. Inside are documents Keisha hasn't seen before. Patent filings. Communication records. Contracts signed in blood and buried in legal jargon. Because I've been preparing for this fight since I was 16 years old. Keisha stares at the papers. What is all this? Proof. Of what? Naira closes the folder. That everything the Harringtons built was stolen. Across the city, police cars pull up to Virex headquarters. News vans follow. Cameras flash. A detective steps out. Badge visible. Expression neutral. He walks through the front doors and asks for Naira Vale. The detective's name is Raymond Cross. He's been with NYPD for 22 years. Seen everything. Believes nothing until he sees proof. He sits across from Naira in her office. Keisha stands by the door, arms crossed. MS. Vale, I'm here regarding allegations that you may have engaged in corporate sabotage and breach of contract. Naira doesn't blink. Who filed the complaint? The Harrington family's legal counsel. Of course they did. Raymond pulls out a notepad. They claim you terminated a legally binding partnership in retaliation for a personal dispute. They also allege you intentionally damaged their company's valuation through malicious actions. Did they mention why I terminated the partnership? Raymond flips a page. They claim you overreacted to a minor social incident. Naira almost laughs. A minor social incident. She pulls up her phone and turns the screen toward him. The video plays. Preston pouring wine. Vivian clapping. Camden filming. Raymond watches without expression. When it ends, he looks at Naira. That's assault. Yes. Why didn't you file charges? Because I had a better option. Raymond leans back. Ms. Vale, I'm not here to defend the Harringtons. But from a legal standpoint, personal grievances don't justify breaking contractual obligations. I didn't break anything. I exercised a clause that's been in our agreement since 2009. She slides a document across the desk. Raymond reads. His expression shifts. This says you retain full ownership of the intellectual property. Correct. And they only have usage privileges, which I can revoke at any time for violations of ethical standards. Raymond looks up. That's a hell of a clause. My father wrote it. Something changes in Raymond's face. Marcus Vale. Naira nods. You know the name. I was a rookie when he died. Fell from his apartment balcony. Ruled accidental. But there were rumors. It wasn't an accident. The room goes quiet. Raymond sets down his pen. That's a serious accusation. It's the truth. Can you prove it? Naira doesn't answer immediately. Then a woman's voice comes from the doorway. I can. Everyone turns. Standing there is someone Naira didn't expect to see yet. Eleanor Quist. 70 years old. Gray hair pulled into a tight bun. Eyes sharp as broken glass. She's holding a USB drive. Raymond stands. Who are you? I'm the woman who's been keeping records for 15 years, Eleanor says. And I have everything you need to reopen Marcus Vale's case. Naira stares at her. Eleanor, I told you to wait. I'm tired of waiting, child. So are you. Eleanor walks to the desk and plugs the drive into Naira's computer. Files appear. Hundreds of them. Emails. Audio recordings. Financial transfers. Meeting notes. Raymond leans closer. What am I looking at? Proof, Eleanor says, that Camden Harrington III met with Marcus Vale 2 weeks before he died. Proof that Marcus threatened to expose Harrington's use of stolen algorithms. Proof that Marcus was forced off that balcony because he refused to stay quiet. The air in the room thickens. Raymond scrolls through the files. Where did you get all this? I was Marcus's research partner, Eleanor says quietly. And when he died, I made sure every conversation, every email, every threat was backed up and hidden where they couldn't find it. Naira's hands clench. Why didn't you tell me? Eleanor looks at her. Because you needed to be ready. And you weren't. Not until now. Raymond straightens. MS. Vale, if what's on this drive is legitimate, we're not talking about corporate disputes anymore. We're talking about homicide. Then investigate it, Naira says. Raymond looks between the two women. This changes everything. The Harringtons won't just fight you in court. They'll come after you with everything they have. Let them. Eleanor nods. They already killed one Vale. They won't kill another. Raymond pockets his notepad. I'll need copies of everything on that drive. Take it all, Eleanor says. He stands. Ms. Vale, I can't make promises. But if there's even a fraction of truth here, the Harringtons are finished. He leaves. The door closes. Naira looks at Eleanor. You should have told me. You would have acted too soon. Rage makes you reckless. I'm not reckless. No. But you're your father's daughter. And he was. Naira's jaw tightens. Eleanor sits down. The Harringtons didn't just steal his work, Naira. They erased him. Rewrote history so no one would remember his name. And when he tried to fight back, they made sure he couldn't. Tears burn behind Naira's eyes, but she refuses to let them fall. How did they do it? Eleanor's voice drops. They invited him to a celebration. Told him they wanted to honor his contributions. Got him drunk. Walked him to the balcony. And when no one was looking. She doesn't finish. She doesn't have to. Naira closes her eyes. I was 16. I know. I thought it was my fault. Thought if I'd called him that night, he wouldn't have gone. And 3 met with Marcus Vale 2 weeks before he died. Proof that Marcus threatened to expose Harrington's use of stolen algorithms. Proof that Marcus was forced off that balcony because he refused to stay quiet. The air in the room thickens. Raymond scrolls through the files. Where did you get all this? I was Marcus's research partner, Eleanor says quietly. And when he died, I made sure every conversation, every email, every threat was backed up and hidden where they couldn't find it. Naira's hands clench. Why didn't you tell me? Eleanor looks at her. Because you needed to be ready. And you weren't. Not until now. Raymond straightens. MS. Vale, if what's on this drive is legitimate, we're not talking about corporate disputes anymore. We're talking about homicide. Then investigate it, Naira says. Raymond looks between the two women. This changes everything. The Harringtons won't just fight you in court. They'll come after you with everything they have. Let them. Eleanor nods. They already killed one Vale. They won't kill another. Raymond pockets his notepad. I'll need copies of everything on that drive. Take it all, Eleanor says. He stands. Ms. Vale, I can't make promises. But if there's even a fraction of truth here, the Harringtons are finished. He leaves. The door closes. Naira looks at Eleanor. You should have told me. You would have acted too soon. Rage makes you reckless. I'm not reckless. No. But you're your father's daughter. And he was. Naira's jaw tightens. Eleanor sits down. The Harringtons didn't just steal his work, Naira. They erased him. Rewrote history so no one would remember his name. And when he tried to fight back, they made sure he couldn't. Tears burn behind Naira's eyes, but she refuses to let them fall. How did they do it? Eleanor's voice drops. They invited him to a celebration. Told him they wanted to honor his contributions. Got him drunk. Walked him to the balcony. And when no one was looking. She doesn't finish. She doesn't have to. Naira closes her eyes. I was 16. I know. I thought it was my fault. Thought if I'd called him that night, he wouldn't have gone. Eleanor reaches across the desk and takes Naira's hand. It was never your fault, child. It was always theirs. Naira opens her eyes. Then let's make sure the world knows it. Eleanor smiles. Already started. Outside, news vans multiply. Reporters shout questions. Cameras flash. Somewhere across the city, Camden Harrington's phone rings with a call he doesn't want to answer. And deep in a federal building, an agent named Lorna Briggs reads through Eleanor's files with growing fury. The Harringtons think they're fighting a business dispute. They're wrong. They're fighting ghosts. And ghosts don't forgive. Naira doesn't sleep. She sits in her father's old office. The one she kept exactly as he left it. Books on neural networks. Papers covered in equations. A photo of the two of them at her high school graduation. He's smiling in the picture. She isn't. She was angry that day. Angry he'd missed her recital to work on algorithms. Angry he cared more about code than her. She never got to apologize. Eleanor sits across from her, nursing black coffee. You were so much like him, Eleanor says quietly. Brilliant. Stubborn. Convinced you could fix the world if you just worked hard enough. He did fix things. They just took credit for it. That's how power works. It consumes everything in its path and calls it progress. Naira opens a file on her laptop. Patent application. Filed March 2008. Inventor, Marcus Vail. Assignee, Virex Global Systems. But below that, buried in subsections and legal clauses, another name appears. Harrington Industrial Group. They didn't just steal the work, Naira says. They made him sign over the patents under duress. Eleanor nods. Threatened his funding. His reputation. Told him if he didn't cooperate, they'd make sure he never worked in tech again. So he gave them access. He thought he could outsmart them. Wrote clauses into the contracts that would protect him long-term. Figured eventually he'd expose them and reclaim everything. But they didn't let him live long enough. Eleanor's face hardens. No. Naira scrolls to another document. Meeting notes. Dated 2 weeks before her father died. The attendees, Marcus Vail. Camden Harrington 3. 2 lawyers whose names Naira doesn't recognize. The subject line, Resolution of IP Ownership Dispute. She reads aloud. Dar. Vail insists that his contributions be publicly acknowledged and that future licensing agreements include his name as primary inventor. Mr. Harrington 3 counters that such acknowledgement would complicate existing partnerships and suggests alternative compensation. Eleanor snorts. Alternative compensation. That's what they called the hush money. He refused it. Of course he did. Your father didn't care about money. He cared about legacy. About being remembered. Naira's throat tightens. And they made sure no one remembered him at all. She closes the laptop. How did you get these files? Eleanor smiles faintly. I was his research partner. Had access to his email. His backups. When he died, I copied everything before the lawyers could seize his devices. Why didn't you go public? With what proof? A grieving colleague's accusations against one of the richest families in America. They would have buried me too. So you waited. I waited for someone who could fight them and win. Someone who understood the technology. Who had the resources. Who had nothing left to lose. Eleanor looks at Naira. I waited for you. Naira's hands shake. I was a kid. You were his daughter. And you grew into exactly what he hoped you'd be. Naira stands and walks to the window. Outside, Manhattan glows. Towers built on ambition and blood. He used to bring me to the lab, she says quietly. Let me sit in the corner while he worked. I didn't understand what he was building. Just knew it was important. It was. His algorithms revolutionized automated logistics. Defense systems. Financial modeling. Everything the Harringtons used to run their empire. And they killed him for it. Yes. Naira turns. Then we take everything from them. Eleanor nods. I already started. She pulls out her phone and opens a folder. These are audio recordings from the night your father died. Recovered from his personal device. The lawyers never found it because I had it. She presses play. A man's voice. Slurred. Drunk. I'm not signing anything else, Camden. I'm done being your ghost. Another voice. Colder. Familiar. Camden Harrington 3. Marcus, be reasonable. We've built something extraordinary together. Don't ruin it because of ego. It's not ego. It's justice. Justice doesn't pay your daughter's tuition. Silence. Then Marcus's voice, quieter. Don't bring her into this. I'm not bringing her into anything. I'm reminding you what's at stake. Sign the revised agreement. Take the compensation. Move on. And if I don't? Then you'll regret it. The recording ends. Naira's fists clench so hard her nails draw blood. Eleanor sets down the phone. There's more. Surveillance footage from his building. Security logs showing Camden left 15 minutes after Marcus fell. Witness statements that were never included in the police report. Why not? Because the Harringtons paid to make them disappear. Naira's voice drops to a whisper. How much did they pay? Enough to make people forget what they saw. The room spins. Naira sits down hard. I spent 15 years thinking I failed him. That if I just called that night, he'd still be alive. Eleanor kneels in front of her. Listen to me. You were a child. This was never your burden to carry. Then whose was it? Mine. And I'm carrying it now. For both of you. Naira wipes her eyes. What do we do? Eleanor stands. We give everything to the FBI. The recordings. The contracts. The witness statements. And we let the world see exactly who the Harringtons are. They'll fight back. They already are. But they're fighting the wrong war. They think this is about money. About reputation. It's not. Eleanor smiles. No, child. This is about blood. And blood always wins. Naira's phone buzzes. News alert. FBI opens investigation into Harrington Industrial Group. Another buzz. Marcus Vail case reopened as potential homicide. Then another. Harrington stock in freefall. Naira looks at Eleanor. It's happening. Not yet. But soon. Across the city, Camden Harrington stands in his penthouse. His lawyers are screaming. His wife is crying. His son is silent. And on every screen, the same headline appears. Did the Harringtons murder a genius to steal his work? The empire is crumbling. And for the first time in his life, Camden Harrington understands what it means to lose. Naira's bank accounts freeze at 3 a.m. All of them. Personal. Business. Investment portfolios. Everything locked behind federal holds and emergency injunctions. Keisha calls at dawn, voice tight with panic. They did it. The judge sided with them. Every asset tied to Virex is frozen pending investigation. Naira stands at her apartment window. The city looks different when you can't afford to live in it anymore. How long? Minimum 30 days. Maybe longer if they can prove ongoing damage to Harrington operations. We knew this was coming. Knowing doesn't make it easier. Naira hangs up. Her phone buzzes immediately. Her board. Emergency meeting in 2 hours. She doesn't respond. Instead she opens her laptop and checks the damage. Virex stock dropped 42% overnight. Investors are fleeing. Partners are requesting emergency calls. Clients are asking about continuity plans. The Harringtons didn't just freeze her money. They froze her credibility. By 8 a.m., the media narrative shifts completely. Reckless CEO destroys her own company over personal vendetta. Naira Vale, victim or villain? Investors demand Vale's resignation after stock collapse. Someone leaked internal board emails. Messages where Naira's own executives question her judgment. Wonder if she's stable. Suggest maybe the Harringtons are right. Her phone rings. Unknown number. She answers. Ms. Vale, this is Richard Tomlinson. I'm on your board. I know who you are. Then you know I've been a supporter. But I can't support this anymore. Support what? Whatever personal crusade you're on. You've destroyed shareholder value. Alienated partners. Made us all look unstable. I'm calling to inform you that I'll be voting for your removal at today's meeting. Naira's grip tightens on the phone. You don't have the votes. I have 8. Out of 12. That's enough. He hangs up. Naira stares at the screen. 8 board members. Ready to remove her from the company she built. Keisha appears at the door, pale. You heard? Yes. What do we do? Naira closes the laptop. We go to the meeting. They're going to vote you out. Probably. You're not going to fight it. Naira looks at her. Keisha, do you know what happens when you corner a desperate animal? It attacks. Exactly. And right now, the Harringtons think they've won. They think freezing my accounts and turning my board against me means I'm finished. Aren't you? Naira almost smiles. Not even close. The board meeting happens in a conference room that costs $3,000 an hour to rent. 12 people sit around a table made of imported mahogany. Richard Tomlinson sits at the head. Gray hair. Expensive suit. Expression that says he's already made up his mind. Ms. Vale, thank you for joining us. Naira sits without responding. We've called this emergency session to address the catastrophic decline in company value and investor confidence following your decision to terminate the Harrington partnership. It wasn't a partnership. It was theft. That's your opinion. But the market disagrees. And so do we. He slides a document across the table. This is a resolution calling for your immediate resignation as CEO. Effective today. Naira doesn't touch it. You don't have the authority. We have 8 votes. That's a supermajority. You have 8 cowards. The room tenses. Richard's jaw tightens. Ms. Vale, we're trying to save this company. Your personal vendetta against the Harringtons has put thousands of jobs at risk. Billions in market value has evaporated. Clients are abandoning us. This isn't about revenge anymore. It's about survival. You think I'm the problem? Yes. Naira leans forward. Then let me ask you something, Richard. Do you know what Virex actually owns? Of course I do. Do you? Because I don't think you've read the patents in years. I don't think any of you have. She pulls out her phone and opens a file. Virex doesn't just license software to the Harringtons. We own the foundational architecture of their entire automated infrastructure. Without us, their logistics networks collapse. Their defense systems go dark. Their financial algorithms stop functioning. We know that. Do you also know that every system they run includes a kill switch written into the original code? One that only I can activate. The room goes silent. Richard stares at her. You're bluffing. Am I? She turns her phone toward him. On the screen is a command prompt. 1 line of code. Waiting for execution. If I press this button, every Harrington system shuts down permanently. No backups. No recovery. Total operational collapse. One of the board members stands. That's corporate terrorism. That's leverage, Naira says calmly. And it's the only reason we're still relevant. Richard's hands shake. You wouldn't. Try me. He looks around the table. The other board members avoid his eyes. This is insane, he whispers. This is war, Naira says. And you're on the wrong side. She stands. Vote however you want. But know this. If you remove me, the Harringtons will destroy what's left of this company and walk away laughing. If you keep me, I'll make sure they never hurt anyone again. She walks to the door. Choose wisely. The door closes behind her. Inside the room, silence. Then Richard's phone buzzes. News alert. Deepfake video of Naira Vale released. He opens it. The video shows Naira in a fabricated meeting, saying things she never said. Admitting to fraud. Confessing to sabotage. It's flawless. Professional. Devastating. Richard looks at the other board members. They're not playing games anymore. Across the city, Vivian Harrington smiles as the video goes viral. 6 million views in 20 minutes. The narrative shifts again. And Naira Vale's empire begins to crumble. The deepfake spreads like wildfire. By noon, it's on every platform. Twitter. Facebook. TikTok. LinkedIn. Naira Vale confessing to crimes she didn't commit. The audio is perfect. The video seamless. Her face. Her voice. Her office. Only it's not her. Keisha bursts into Naira's apartment, laptop open. Have you seen it? Yes. It's everywhere. People believe it. Our clients are terminating contracts. Partners are issuing statements distancing themselves from us. Naira sits on the couch, staring at nothing. They're good. Nothing. They're good. Good. They're destroying you. I know. Keisha slams the laptop shut. Why aren't you fighting back? I am. How? By sitting here while your reputation burns. Naira looks at her. Keisha, do you trust me? That's not the point. It's the only point. Keisha's eyes fill with tears. I've worked for you for 6 years. I've never seen you like this. Like what? Defeated. Naira stands and walks to the window. I'm not defeated. I'm waiting. For what? For them to make the final mistake. Her phone rings. Eleanor. Did you see it? Eleanor asks. Yes. It's fake. Obviously fake. Anyone with forensic software can prove it. I know. Then why aren't you saying that? Because I want them to think it worked. Eleanor pauses. You're baiting them. Yes. Into what? Overconfidence. Naira hangs up and turns to Keisha. I need you to draft a resignation letter. Keisha stares. What? Make it public. Effective immediately. Cite pressure from the board and concerns about company stability. You can't be serious. Do it. Naira. Trust me. Keisha hesitates. Then nods. She leaves. Naira sits down at her father's desk and opens a file she hasn't touched in years. Inside are blueprints. Source code. Documentation of every system Marcus Vale ever designed. And buried in the code, invisible to anyone who doesn't know where to look, is the kill switch. Not the one she showed the board. The real one. The one that doesn't just shut down Harrington systems. It transfers ownership. To her. Her phone buzzes. News alert. Naira Vale resigns as CEO of Virex Global Systems. The announcement goes live. Social media explodes. She finally did the right thing. About time. The Harringtons win again. Preston Harrington posts a video. Smiling. Victorious. Justice prevails, he says into the camera. Sometimes people need to be held accountable. The video gets 2 million likes. Camden Harrington releases a statement through his lawyers. We are pleased that cooler heads have prevailed. The Harrington family has always valued integrity and accountability. Vivian posts a photo of champagne glasses. The caption, to new beginnings. They think they won. Naira opens her laptop. Types a single line of code. Her finger hovers over the enter key. Then her phone rings. Raymond Cross. Ms. Vale, we have a problem. What kind of problem? The evidence Eleanor gave us. It's gone. Naira's blood turns cold. What do you mean gone? Someone accessed the evidence locker. Wiped the files. Destroyed the physical backups. Everything we had connecting the Harringtons to your father's death is gone. That's impossible. It happened. And the officer who had access to the locker. Found dead this morning. Apparent suicide. Naira's hands shake. They killed him. I can't prove that. But yes. I think they did. What about Eleanor's copies? I'm trying to reach her. She's not answering. Naira stands. Where does she live? Naira, don't. She hangs up and grabs her coat. Keisha intercepts her at the door. Where are you going? To Eleanor's. Why? Because they're tying up loose ends. She runs. Eleanor lives in a brownstone in Brooklyn. Quiet street. Old trees. Naira arrives in 14 minutes. The front door is open. Not kicked in. Just unlocked. Naira's heart pounds. She steps inside. Eleanor. No answer. The living room is untouched. Books on shelves. Teacup on the table. Still warm. Naira moves toward the bedroom. The door is closed. She reaches for the handle. It opens before she touches it. Eleanor stands there, alive, holding a gun. Get inside, she says quietly. We don't have much time. Naira steps in. The bedroom is empty except for a laptop and 3 external hard drives. They came for me, Eleanor says. 2 men. Professional. Would have killed me if I hadn't been expecting them. Are they dead? No. Unconscious in the basement. But they'll wake up soon, and when they do, this place won't be safe. She unplugs the hard drives and hands them to Naira. These are the only copies left. Everything about your father. The algorithms. The murder. All of it. Raymond said the evidence was destroyed. It was. But they didn't know I kept backups of the backups. Naira takes the drives. What do we do now? Eleanor picks up the laptop. We finish this. How? By giving them exactly what they want. She opens a file. On the screen is a video. Recorded earlier today. It's Eleanor. Speaking directly to the camera. My name is Eleanor Quist. I worked with Dr. Marcus Vale for 12 years. And I have proof that Camden Harrington III murdered him. The video continues. Every detail. Every recording. Every document. 43 minutes of unfiltered truth. I'm uploading this in 1 hour, Eleanor says. Every news outlet. Every social media platform. Every government agency. They can't stop what they can't find. She hits upload. The progress bar begins. And somewhere across the city, an alert triggers on Camden Harrington's phone. He reads it. And realizes he's already lost. The upload finishes at 7 p.m. By 7:15, the video is on every major news site. By 7:30, it's trending worldwide. Eleanor's face. Her voice. Her evidence. Audio recordings of Camden threatening Marcus. Security footage of Camden leaving Marcus's building. Witness statements that were buried. All of it. Public. Undeniable. The FBI receives 6,000 tips in the first hour. The SEC opens 3 separate investigations. The Department of Justice issues a statement. We are reviewing allegations of corporate fraud and potential homicide related to the Harrington Industrial Group. Harrington stock collapses. Not slowly. Instantly. Trading is halted within minutes. When it resumes, the price drops to $6 per share. Billions in value evaporate. Banks freeze Harrington accounts. Partners terminate contracts. Clients flee. Camden Harrington stands in his penthouse, watching the news. This place won't be safe. She unplugs the hard drives and hands them to Naira. These are the only copies left. Everything about your father. The algorithms. The murder. All of it. Raymond said the evidence was destroyed. It was. But they didn't know I kept backups of the backups. Naira takes the drives. What do we do now? Eleanor picks up the laptop. We finish this. How? By giving them exactly what they want. She opens a file. On the screen is a video. Recorded earlier today. It's Eleanor. Speaking directly to the camera. My name is Eleanor Quist. I worked with Dr. Marcus Vale for 12 years. And I have proof that Camden Harrington III murdered him. The video continues. Every detail. Every recording. Every document. 43 minutes of unfiltered truth. I'm uploading this in 1 hour, Eleanor says. Every news outlet. Every social media platform. Every government agency. They can't stop what they can't find. She hits upload. The progress bar begins. And somewhere across the city, an alert triggers on Camden Harrington's phone. He reads it. And realizes he's already lost. The upload finishes at 7 p.m. By 7:15, the video is on every major news site. By 7:30, it's trending worldwide. Eleanor's face. Her voice. Her evidence. Audio recordings of Camden threatening Marcus. Security footage of Camden leaving Marcus's building. Witness statements that were buried. All of it. His lawyers stopped answering calls an hour ago. His wife locked herself in the bedroom. His son sits on the couch, silent, staring at his phone as his social media accounts get deleted by platforms enforcing hate speech policies. Camden's phone rings. FBI. He doesn't answer. It rings again. SEC. Again, he ignores it. Then his private line buzzes. A number he recognizes. Judge Paulson. He answers. Camden, I'm calling as a courtesy. There are federal agents on their way to your residence. I suggest you cooperate fully. This is a mistake. No. This is justice. And it's long overdue. The line goes dead. Camden walks to the window. Sirens in the distance. Getting closer. Vivian emerges from the bedroom, mascara streaked. What do we do? Camden doesn't answer. Preston stands. Dad? Still nothing. The sirens grow louder. Red and blue lights flash in the street below. Doors slam. Footsteps in the hallway. A knock. FBI. Open up. Camden looks at his son. I'm sorry, he says quietly. For what? For making you think this was how the world worked. The door bursts open. Agents flood in. Guns drawn. Badges visible. Camden Harrington 3, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, wire fraud, and obstruction of justice. They cuff him. Read him his rights. Preston watches, frozen. Vivian collapses. And Camden Harrington, who spent his entire life believing money made him untouchable, finally understands what it means to fall. Across town, Naira sits with Eleanor in a safe house Raymond arranged. They watch the news in silence. Harrington arrested in connection to 15-year-old LD murder. Empire collapses as evidence of fraud surfaces. Marcus Vale's daughter vindicated after years of injustice. Eleanor reaches over and takes Naira's hand. Your father would be proud. Naira's throat tightens. I wish he could see this. He can. They sit in silence as the news continues. Then Naira's phone rings. Keisha. You need to see this. See what? Your company. The board just voted unanimously to reinstate you as CEO. Naira blinks. What? Richard Tomlinson issued a public apology. Said they were wrong. That you were right all along. Stock is already recovering. Naira looks at Eleanor. We won. Eleanor smiles. Not yet. But almost. Naira's phone buzzes again. Another call. Unknown number. She answers. A young voice. Shaking. Ms. Vale, this is Preston Harrington. Naira's jaw tightens. Why are you calling me? Because I need to say I'm sorry. Silence. I was wrong, Preston continues. About everything. About you. About what my family did. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. You poured wine on my face. I know. And I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Naira closes her eyes. Apologies don't erase harm, Preston. I know. But I'm trying. I'm testifying against my father. Telling them everything I saw. Everything I heard. Good. I just wanted you to know that not everyone in my family is a monster. Some of us were just blind. He hangs up. Naira sets down the phone. Eleanor looks at her. You okay? I don't know. That's honest. They watch the news until midnight. Then Naira stands. I need to go somewhere. Where? The ballroom. Eleanor nods. Want company? No. This is something I need to do alone. She leaves. The Harrington Pavilion is empty when Naira arrives. Dark. Silent. Abandoned. The chandeliers are off. The tables bare. The string quartet long gone. She walks to the center of the room. To the table where it happened. The wine stain is still there. Faint. Almost invisible. But real. She touches it. Remembers the silence. The laughter. The cruelty. Remembers her father's face in the photograph. Remembers 15 years of grief. And for the first time since that night, she lets herself cry. Not quiet tears. Not restrained sobs. Full, gasping, ugly crying. For her father. For the years stolen. For the justice delayed. She cries until there's nothing left. Then she wipes her face and stands. The city glows outside the windows. Towers built on ambition and lies. But somewhere in that city, truth is winning. Her phone buzzes. News alert. Harrington Industrial Group files for bankruptcy. Another. Camden Harrington denied bail. Another. Vivian Harrington faces separate charges. The empire is gone. Not wounded. Not damaged. Gone. Naira walks to the exit. At the door, she turns back one last time. "This was for you, Dad," she whispers. Then she leaves. Outside, the night is cold. Clear. Honest. She breathes it in and smiles. Not in revenge. In peace. 6 months later. Naira stands in front of a crowd of 2,000 people. The Marcus Vale Innovation Center. Named after the man whose work changed the world and whose death nearly went unanswered. Eleanor sits in the front row, smiling. Keisha stands beside her. Raymond Cross is there too, in civilian clothes, retired now but present for the moment. Naira steps to the microphone. "My father believed technology should serve humanity, not exploit it. He believed truth mattered more than profit. And he believed that even when the powerful try to silence you, your work can speak louder than their lies." Applause. She continues. "This center exists because people refuse to let his story end with injustice. Because Eleanor Quist risked her life to preserve evidence. Because investigators like Detective Cross chose truth over convenience. And because sometimes, when you fight for what's right, the world listens." More applause. "But this isn't just about my father. It's about every person whose work was stolen. Every voice that was silenced. Every truth that was buried. This center will make sure their stories are told. Their innovations recognized. Their legacies protected." She looks at Eleanor. "And we'll never let anyone forget what happens when power goes unchecked." The crowd rises. Standing ovation. Naira steps back from the microphone. Eleanor walks up and hugs her. "He'd be so proud," Eleanor whispers. "I know." They stand together as cameras flash and reporters shout questions. Later, in a quiet office upstairs, Naira opens her laptop. Virex stock is at an all-time high. The company is thriving. Partnerships are flooding in. The board is unified. And on her desk sits a photograph. New this time. Her father. Herself. Eleanor. All smiling. She touches the frame. Her phone buzzes. Message from an unknown number. "Thank you for not giving up. My father worked with Dr. Vale. He always said Marcus was the smartest man he knew. I'm glad the world finally knows it too." Naira smiles and closes the laptop. Outside, the city continues. Busy. Loud. Relentless. But somewhere in that noise, truth won. And a daughter kept a promise she made to a father she never got to say goodbye to. Justice isn't always fast. But when it comes, it's absolute. Naira Vale stands at the window, watching the sun set over Manhattan. Her father's empire restored. His name cleared. His legacy secure. She doesn't smile in revenge. She smiles because the truth finally won. And that's all that ever mattered. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because justice stories like this, they're just beginning. We have more coming tomorrow that will inspire you, shock you, and remind you why truth always wins in the end. Don't miss it. See you in the next one. With injustice. Because Eleanor Quist risked her life to preserve evidence. Because investigators like Detective Cross chose truth over convenience. And because sometimes, when you fight for what's right, the world listens. More applause. But this isn't just about my father. It's about every person whose work was stolen. Every voice that was silenced. Every truth that was buried. This center will make sure their stories are told. Their innovations recognized. Their legacies protected. She looks at Eleanor. And we'll never let anyone forget what happens when power goes unchecked. The crowd rises. Standing ovation.